Tensions remain high in the Middle East, with talks between the US and Iran set to go ahead later this week, even after the US military was forced to shoot down an Iranian drone. Here's the latest from Fox News.
U.S. CENTCOM reports destroying an Iranian drone as it approached a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier with unclear intent. An F-35C fighter jet from Abraham Lincoln shot down the Iranian drone in self-defense and to protect the aircraft carrier and personnel on board. Shortly after that incident, Iranian forces harassed a U.S. commercial ship in the Strait of Hormuz, even threatening to board the vessel. Tehran also making an 11th-hour gambit tonight to move Friday's nuclear talks from Turkey to Oman and drop Arab nation participants and negotiate directly with the Trump administration alone.
Let's bring in Tom Switzer, columnist with The Australian, joining me here on the desk. Good to talk to you again, Tom.
Chris.
Are we going to see war between the US and Iran?
Well, it's a grave moment in the sense that here we have Iranian provocations that could derail these nuclear talks in Turkey on Friday. And all it requires is an accident or a miscalculation, and things could spiral out of control. My sense is that the president wants to show force to intimidate the Mullahs into making more concessions on their uranium enrichment.
They've been stubborn in the past, though, and of course Trump says he knocked out all their nuclear facilities last year. Obviously, they must be worried that the Iranians are still going with that.
Well, which raises the question, how effective was that strike? The conventional wisdom in July, as you well know, was that it was a great strike in the sense that it set back the Iranian nuclear program. But you don't want to underestimate the strengths of this Iranian regime. It's a brutal Shia theocracy that commits horrible human rights against its own people, and it has been funding the Shia militia, which has caused a lot of mayhem in the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and that's why people want regime change, people outside of it. The president wouldn't be having that top of mind. It's too unpredictable, isn't it?
Well, my sense is that his instincts are non-intervention. He doesn't really want to throw America's weight around the world, certainly not in the sense of bringing down regimes and embarking on nation building. Remember, he ran against the neoconservatives in the Republican primaries, both in 2016 and in 2024, on a platform of America First. But, as we've seen, he's not immune to the idea of punishing regimes with hits. So he could do this again. But I doubt very much he wants to see this escalated, because that could drag America in a war that may be another forever war, as he would put it.
Now, I want to get you on global political trends because, Trump is a disruptor. He's unique, and he's changed the party political dynamic in the US dramatically. We've got Reform now being the major party of opposition in the UK, pushing aside the Conservatives. We've had similar groupings and movements in Europe as well. And now, of course, One Nation outpolling the coalition here. And you saw Pauline there. She now says that she's leading a party of government. What's going on here? And is Australia part of a global trend?
I think what's happening here, Chris, is that the Conservative vote in Australia, the bleeding of that Conservative vote to One Nation, reflects a global trend all across the West. You've got Great Britain, France, Germany, Italy, but also the Czech Republic to the east, and even in Northern Europe, like the Netherlands and Denmark, and even Sweden, you're seeing centre-right mainstream parties either being propped up by populist parties to form government, or they're bleeding votes altogether to populist parties that are emerging as a more credible form of government. And this is a very real trend, and I think it's just taken us a bit longer to catch up.
What are the issues driving this? There are two that stand out to me. The obvious one is immigration.
Yes.
Immigration, uncontrolled immigration in Europe, the US, and we've had it in the past here, and there's a lot of concerns about record immigration in Australia in recent years, but also energy policy and the way that's affecting mainstream voters.
Opposition to mass immigration. In Australia, we've distinguished ourselves by having tough border protection led by John Howard and Tony Abbott. That boosted public confidence in what has been large-scale non-discriminatory immigration. But there is now a backlash against massive legal immigration, and that's clearly evident all across Europe and the United States. That helped lead to Trump's rise. So you're right, mass immigration, but also opposition to unaffordable and unreliable energy policy driven by a fixation for net zero. And the other factor to bear in mind is this backlash against woke cultural orthodoxies in the establishment that denigrates national history and national achievements. That's the same phenomenon taking place all across North America and Europe.
Now, a lot of us would agree with some of those policy prescriptions, I suppose, or directions. But how can it be harnessed on the centre-right rather than... Because at the moment, the fracturing is more likely to help the left of centre party.
Look, I think what's happening here is that the right of the Liberal Party and the National Party feel more or less comfortable with one nation on net zero, on mass immigration, and clearly the issue of woke cultural agendas. The big difference, particularly between the Liberal Party and One Nation, is on economics. And the Liberal Party traditionally has supported free markets, productivity-enhancing economic reforms to make the Australian economy more competitive, making the country more prosperous. But One Nation's instincts are more protectionist and interventionist. And again, this reflects what Nigel Farage, Marine Le Pen and the other populists are doing
and Trump,
overseas.
this economic nationalism.
Absolutely.
Fascinating stuff.